Hello, everybody. Hopefully, everybody can hear me. Welcome to Star Wars Through the Ages. This is my first live stream, so hopefully it goes well. I do expect to be some glitches, technical things that I won't have quite figured out yet, but I am working hard at it. Hopefully, everyone can see. Let me know in the chat if anyone can see it. All right. I think I'm still having some technical difficulties. I don't know if anyone can see it or not. All right. I think it's working now. All right. Hey, thanks everybody for stopping by. This is Star Wars Through the Ages. Can you hear me? Awesome. Excellent, Charles. All right. I have posted the link. In fact, I'm going to do it again. If anyone wants to join in, there is the link, and that should get everyone going. Hop on in at any time. I'll try to get you on. I'm actually pretty nervous this time because, well, it's live. You can hear me, you can see me, interact a little bit more. It makes it a little bit more fun as well. But I'll get over the nervousness soon enough. I was going to see if 2Med2 was going to stop by. I'm hoping. Let's see. Because I haven't ever brought anybody in on StreamYard before. This is my first time to use it, so just flying by the seat of my pants. Trying to take that shortcut through the Kessel Run. All right. Well, we're going to start today through today's topics. We'll go from there. Let's see if I can click back over there. All right. Our first topic that we have today is off of a tweet that I saw earlier this week. It was talking about Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn movie that's about to come out that has the all-female cast. And the tweet was, this movie is going to be a bomb because this, and this. And my first thought was, how in the world does this person know that it's going to be a bomb? What makes it a bomb? People called Solo a bomb, but it made more than what it cost to make it. So to me, that's not really a bomb. That's just movie making. They had some technical difficulties. They had to overcome it. The merchandising wasn't there. The promotion wasn't really there. So what really makes a movie a bomb? Is it that no one's going to go to see it in the theaters? Is it because it's not going to make as much money as what they think it will? In the chat, what do you guys think makes a movie a bomb or a bust? Then I'll get into what their reasonings were. Because honestly, I really don't know what makes things a bomb. Again, Solo got panned bad by critics because it didn't live up to the hype that a lot of people thought that it was going to. It was right on the tails of another Star Wars movie, so people didn't quite have that anticipation that they normally get, where it's a 2 or 3 year wait. So what this guy said was Birds of Prey was going to bomb because Harley Quinn had more clothes on it in this one. They toned down her sexuality, and that none of the other actresses in there were really attractive. So that was going to mean that Birds of Prey was going to be a bomb. So that made me think, when it comes to movies, does sex really sell? It does in advertisement, I would say, product placement. But as far as movies, it's a whole different type of atmosphere. You go to be entertained. Uh, not all movies are romance movies. Not all movies need that. You just, if it's an action movie, sure, sometimes there might be, a scene or two with it in there. There might be, a thriller doesn't always have that. Stephen King movies hardly ever have it. I mean, what would have? I mean, yes, I know that the uh, book of it had a little bit in there, but not necessarily. It wasn't a main theme. Oh, I thought I was going to have a guest. Not sure where it went, but I just because a movie does not have a particular type of sequence, or that the females are uh, scantily dressed, or you don't think that they're quite attractive enough, doesn't mean that a movie is going to fail just on that. Advertisement is one thing. Let's see. Let me see if I can. I think I have a guest. So I'm going to try to add him in real quick. Hello, are you there, Michael?
I am here.
2Med2 joining in Star Wars Through the Ages. Thank you, my friend.
I'm trying to.
Hello, are you there, Michael?
I am here.
2Med2 joining in Star Wars Through the Ages. Thank you, my friend.
I'm trying. Okay. I think that should work. I had you on YouTube also, so I was getting it double with a delay. So
yeah, that feedback.
Yeah. Let's see. I've never done this before. I think this is my first time. Actually being a guest on StreamYard. So
mine too. Well, I've been a guest, but my first time to host. So
all right. Well, I'm ready because I'm ready to go because I wasn't, I got a lot of answers to your questions. So
awesome. All right. So yeah, I just basically started
go ahead
with this the tweet that I saw earlier this week that kind of set me on edge a little bit. The poster was talking about Birds of Prey, the new Harley Quinn movie, and was talking about how bad it was going to bomb because, one, they put too many clothes on Harley Quinn. She wasn't going to be as sexy as she was in Suicide Squad, and her female castmates weren't quite attractive enough. So therefore, the movie was going to bomb. So my main question is what makes a movie a bomb?
Well, I think there's two aspects on that. Um, the first one that most people would think about is how it does financially, compared to the estimates that the experts make. You know, but then again, you had Forbes saying that the the Rise of Skywalker was a bomb because it only made $1.1 billion or whatever it is. But you know, the analysts have an idea of what they think the movie should make, also with recuperating the cost of what it cost the movie to make plus production. You know, if the movie cost $100 million to make, it's going to be $100 million also. Let me turn my volume off here so you're not bothering you too much. Sorry about that.
That's
Uh,
fine.
you know, it's not, you know, so I mean, I'm not an expert on it, but I think it's, you know, usually whatever it costs to produce the movie is what you spend in your marketing budget also. So if you spend $1 million or $100 million to make a movie, you're spending $100 million in your marketing. So the movie needs to, you know, gross, or I mean, if it nets 200 million, you've now broken even, and that doesn't even include the theaters getting the cost or whatever. So, I mean, maybe if someone knows the numbers better than you know what I do, that I'm just kind of doing from what I've heard or been told. And then the second one is if the movie's good or not, and of course that's in for interpretation. You know, Cats bombed. Cats was, I don't know how much they spent on the movie, and the majority of the people that saw it said it's one of the worst movies they've ever seen. But that also comes to, it was released and they didn't have all the CGI done, so people had their wedding rings still on in human hands when they were supposed to be cats. And a week after the movie came out, they had to re-release it. So you know that's a little bit of both on there. You know,
Right.
going in. So, but I mean, that's where I think just the quick topic of, you know, what something that bombs is. You know, and then you get into sex sells. Sex does sell, whether it is a quick scene in a James Bond scene going back 40 years of someone walking out of the water and they're wearing a white bathing suit, which, you know, that leaves really nothing to the imagination.
Right. Right.
Um, and you know, whether that ends up being a poster on your wall or it's, you know, I'm going back to, I'm trying to bring it back to, you know, the age of innocence, not now where, you know, you go on the internet and everything's sex and you can find it, you know, without a problem. You know, where it's not trying to get too involved, but it's the posters on the walls or the magazines you have hidden, you know,
Right.
sex sells, and you put that into movies a little bit, and your movies that where Harley Quinn is supposed to be, you know, kind of a sex symbol, and they've made her into one, more than maybe what she was when she first originated. I don't know. I'm not too in on the comic aspects and you know, how sexual she was when it first came out, but I thought she was more of just kind of, it was implied but not really shown.
Yeah, she was more of
And
a sidekick.
yeah, and now it's, but the sexuality there was kind of more of implied, not her really being half naked. And now it's, from what I know, it's evolved to, you know, you have this pretty girl, why have clothes on her? Because that's what a bad villain would look like. Um,
Right. Well, it reminds me of the scene in Suicide Squad when they all get together and they're all standing outside, and she's, I think, putting on a shirt or something, and you know she just kind of adjusts it down, and you know the music
mhm,
stops, and she looks around. Oh, what? And, you know, like it was no big deal,
yeah.
and I understand that, but as I was saying earlier, you know, it's just is that it's not necessarily needed, and it's not necessarily what is going to cause a movie to succeed or not. I look at Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix one that just came out. Uh, I There's so much that is non-sexy about that movie, but yet he's won all these awards. It probably will get
Mhm.
Best Picture. I mean, it was a fantastic acting job on his part. I thought it was very well written, but that doesn't necessarily mean that because there was lack of sexiness or scantily clad people that the movie is destined to failure. Just because something a person thinks that it because it especially superhero things with the skin tight costumes
Hmm.
and whatnot, that doesn't necessarily mean that Superman, yeah, he's buff, but that's not the look he was going for. Just because a person has clothes on doesn't necessarily mean that the movie is going to bomb.
No, but I
No, but
think
I
if
think
you put a scene or two in there where you have something that's explicit, or that maybe not the entire movie, but that's like, holy cow, you know like, people are going to talk about it, people are going to go see the movie for that. It's much different now that if the movie comes out on Friday, I can probably sit down in my house and watch it Friday night. Makes it a little bit different than you know 10 years ago or 20 years ago, whatever it was, and you'd have to go see the movie for that. Or, perfect example, Basic Instinct. The movie was based
Right.
on sex. Um, but everybody went to go see that movie for one scene, not the sex scenes. They didn't care about the sex scenes. They cared about when she was in the interrogation room. That's the only reason you wanted to go see the movie.
Right, right.
Um, so I mean that even though you have a movie based on sex and sex selling, it's one scene that makes the movie. Um, I mean, I'm just trying to think of examples where both cases are right. You don't need sex in a movie to sell it. A sex scene in the Joker, I don't know where it would have really fit in. Um, to the movie more of except for fitting more of a sex scene in there, except for making him more disturbed, kind of, and making
Yeah.
it not a sex scene, but a scene where there's sex, if that kind of makes
Mhm.
sense.
Sure.
I mean, like, and there's also it depends on the level of the sex scene. Is it a romantic sex scene, or is it right in your face and slaps you, and here you go, there's nothing left to the imagination. And then you have your stereotypical guys movies that you put a romantic sex scene in for the ladies, something that isn't Star Wars related, or take Top Gun. When Top
Mhm.
Gun came out years ago, that that was the guys movie for the airplanes and the volleyball and whatever other things we got out of the movie. But then you throw in a couple little romance scenes or whatever for the ladies. Well, the guys still enjoyed those too, but they were for the ladies. Put in
Right.
there
Yeah.
as so you can take your date and it turns into being an action movie to a date movie. Um, so I mean, so I think on those aspects that it just kind of depends on um, you know just using it again because it's a sex movie. Basic Instinct isn't going to win Oscars for best movie, where Joker might.
Right.
Or they throw in 9/17. They could have thrown in a sex scene somewhere. I don't know how. It could have been kind of weird. um, but anything's possible. Who
Right.
knows what the Germans could have had prostitutes behind their lines, or the Americans could have had prostitutes behind their lines, or whatever. It might not be true. I mean, it probably was, but for the higher ups. But you could have thrown something in there and had it, but it doesn't really fit in the movie. And if you can fit it into the movie, and it's even if it's not tactful, depending on the kind of movie, if it's just blatant and you know, I don't mean disgusting when I say grotesque, but like just
Right.
right slap, right out there. Then that's a completely different scenario on itself.
Right. Well, since this is a Star Wars podcast, how does sex appeal apply to Star Wars?
Oh, here we go, because now we can open it up in a whole new can of worms. And
Right.
we start off with Princess Leia not having on any underwear in the first ones because there's no gravity. Why would you wear a bra? To the last one with some of the Raylo community going well beyond anything I've ever seen or heard. Um, the any of the Star Wars community talk about any character,
Yeah.
and making the fan fiction and the fan art that's now mainstream towards Kylo Ren. So, you go from, Princess Leia's pretty, and a couple years later, she's gone from not wearing any underwear to being in a gold bikini, which could be a whole nother show in itself.
Right.
To Padme, who's beautiful in the dresses, and they could have made Padme have these Victorian looking dresses where everything's up to her neck and no backs and you can't see her butt crack or whatever because the dress is cut so low. But they decided to go the other way and have her look beautiful and have the sexuality there, but in a tasteful way.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, I
you know,
was when I was going over different topics to have on the show this week, I was talking with James from Rebel Scum, and he liked the idea, and we were talking about how we could incorporate it. And my thought was, say you take the original trilogy, you have Leia that's there in the simple white outfit, hair is up, she's elegant, beautiful. Yes, there's no underwear because there's no underwear in space, according to George Lucas. But fully clothed, but still was regal and beautiful. Then you go to Empire Strikes Back, which is some consider the best Star Wars movie, and she's wearing heavy clothes. Most of the time on the Hoth, she's in a jacket. In Cloud City, she has the maroon dress with the heavy white collar. But just as beautiful, just as regal. And then you get to Return of the Jedi, which I don't think made as much as Empire or the original Star Wars
no.
Hope. And she's in a gold bikini to start off with, and then it regresses from there as far as sexuality. Yes, the first third of the film, she's there. She's got that gold bikini on, and then of course, as that's parodied everywhere, even on Friends, where you have Rachel, puts on the bikini for Ross, and then she's on Endor. Or I'm sorry, then she's in the jungle of Endor. She's got her military suit on, and then the last part of the movie, she has the Ewok dress on. So, I mean, which who knows where that came from? I mean, were the Ewoks prepared for that? Did they make it really quick or what? But that's a topic for a different time, I guess. But she just and it regressed. You start off with this.
Yeah. You broke up a little bit there. I'm not sure if it was on your end or on my end. But
I'm not sure. Can you hear me now? Oh. You might have frozen there.
I'm going to exit out and come back in because I don't know if it's on or not, but I look like I'm frozen. So let's see. Okay. I'm just going to try this.
Sure. Not a problem. I'll talk with the guys in the chat. Hondo, baby. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Charles. I really can't wait for. Let's see. All right, there we back.
Yeah, you were on my end. You were buffering or whatever, but I think it was on my end, so I'm not really sure.
Okay.
I was catching you. You were coming in every other word, so I'm not sure what it was, but yeah. I mean, I think the way it was written, it fit into the story. She's this princess wearing the princess clothes, as the white dress that she had. It wasn't anything elegant or nice for a princess, but that's what we believe space princesses wore in Star Wars. He could have turned it extra sexual or made it sexual and had her be the one that got soaked in the trash compactor, and come up in the white wearing, no underwear, and there's nothing left to the imagination. And here you go, it's your Star Wars movie because that's how it is. But he didn't do that, and it fit into the movie. It fit into Empire Strikes Back that she was, on an ice planet, so she's fully clothed. And then throughout, even when she goes to, like you said, Cloud City, that's how they were dressing there at the time. Return of the Jedi, I mean, yeah, that's how you would expect her to be treated by Jabba, who, from what we know of him, or the way he treated people and the way that his dancers were dressed and everything. So, I think in the original trilogy, it just kind of makes sense, and and then in the sequels, it makes sense because Padme was this elegant queen from Naboo, and that's how the queen dressed, and that's how her night attire was different than, she wasn't dressed like that when she was being the queen and sitting on the throne and making speeches and decisions, and her makeup and everything. But when at night, then, she had the finer things in life, and that happens to be nice pajamas or, nightgowns. Now when she's on Geonosis, I believe it was, and she's in the pit and gets half of her clothes ripped off of her, that was sex sells. There was no other reason to have her lose half of her shirt. Which, that if you look at the somebody just said the same thing.
Yeah, Charles.
Charles, as I was saying that. So you have, that's one of her, her. I don't collect Funko Pops, but I do have that Funko Pop of her, at Geonosis with her half of her shirt ripped off.
Mhm.
And I think that there's I don't, if they make one, I do have it, but I think there's a Black Series with her in that outfit. I don't know whether or not her shirt's ripped or not. So I mean, that's their little bit of, George having, sex sells. But you have, the Twi'leks are very, and the way that they're dressed and the way that they act.
Mhm.
And Solo, you have a lot of, sexuality that's going on there,
Yeah,
especially with with Dryden Voss. Forget about the relationship, the romantic relationship between Han and Kira. You have, she's basically, Kira was a sex slave, and she got out of that by doing what she was told. And but she still, when Voss says, this is how it is now, that she still has to go, but she's been just treated better. That was something that a lot of people had a problem with that movie, because it was glorifying the sex trade, and now it's in Star Wars. Well, I mean, if Star Wars is, not to change the subject, but if Star Wars has always been political or brought up political issues, or social issues, that kind of fits in because that's something that's going on right now in the world that is being brought up to the attention more so than it has been in the past. Whether or not it's more prevalent or not, I'm not really sure. It's just become more mainstream. So I mean, you have those aspects that are brought into it too.
Which was that brought me to this point. If you can see it on the screen, could it be a generational thing? Whereas we started off the saga in the 70s, in the early 80s, it wasn't as prevalent or as mainstream as you said. Then you come into the late 90s, early 2000s, things are a little more loose. things that you see on television then weren't even thought about when Star Wars first started, and now you have today's age where just about anything can go.
I mean, when Star Wars originally started, um, the most racy thing you had on TV was Daisy Duke. Wearing her shorts. 10 years before that is when they started having, just sharing a bed or whatever it was, maybe 15 years. But, I mean, yeah, so it's kind of progressively getting less racy, or it's not as risque to be showing the things. But I don't really think that Star Wars has, I think the most sexualized thing is probably Princess Leia in the gold bikini. I don't think anything's really beaten that. That I can think of off the top of my head right now.
I can't. That's the only thing that I could think of as well, unless you get into the fan fiction side of things with uh, with the last sequel trilogy,
Yeah,
which weren't ever really expressed in the movies, but they took off like wildfire.
yeah. I think that. Well, that's also. I mean, not. I don't think you want to go into the whole conversation about this, but that's also who's writing it. There's a stigma. If I wrote a fan fiction where Ray becomes my wife, and I write graphically about our marital exploits. I'm trying to. I think your stream's a little bit different than mine, so I'm trying to use different words and not. On mine, I would just be dropping f bombs and swearing and going crazy. But on yours, I'm trying to be a little bit more tactful. Yeah. So you're like, if I wrote something like that
That's
and,
all
and
I can
wrote
say.
about,
Just be you.
and wrote in graphic detail about, you know, I mean, the things we do and the positions that we're in, and the things that are more satisfying to each other than and the things we just and everything. People would be like, well, what's wrong with Michael? Why is he writing smut like that? But you get Raylos that are writing it, that Kylo Ren or Ben are doing these things to them, and it's perfectly acceptable.
Right.
Um,
Oh, and
not
even goes beyond that. Not just. I'm actually quite shocked at some of the things that are posted on Twitter, whether it's Ben or Kylo in Ray, or whether it's Poe in Finn, or what's that other one? Where they call it Kylux, where it's Kylo Ren and Hux together. It's just, I mean, it's the pictures that they draw and post on there,
yeah.
and the statements that they say, and some people get chastised when they're like, what's going on there. I remember a few weeks ago I got into it because I didn't understand a position that some were taking, and through me asking a question on what do you mean by this, could it mean something else, I was
Mhm.
called all sorts of names in the book, a misogynist and a pig, and
I remember that.
it it was quite, I mean, it was pretty terrifying, really, that because I didn't understand and tried to ask questions, I got shellacked over it because I would never understand because I'm not that persuasion or whatever. But yeah, it's just it's really I thought it was really interesting topic to think about, that how it all relates and how it all fits together and how it affects Star Wars.
I mean, that's where it's one of those things that we could talk about for hours or days or whatever. Whether it's the movies or the comic books, or someone had posted about the cartoons are getting a little bit more risque or whatever. I think I talked yesterday on my live stream about my love for Sabine, and I don't. Um, think of Sabine in the same way that I do real women. Um, but for a cartoon, she's pretty hot. And I think that was the intent for drawing her that way. There wouldn't be, they wouldn't have. There's a reason that she looks the way she looks. That's how they wanted a cute, pretty girl. Whatever you want to say. Um, you know,
Well, I
oh,
mean, back in the day, it was Jessica Rabbit. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, there's, and I think that there's a way to do it tastefully, and then I think you have that fringe that really could. I mean, we're not going for porn, Star Wars porn here. We're just trying to make a movie that a lot of people can relate to.
And I think Star Wars has done it. I mean, for the sexual aspect, has been pretty tasteful. I mean, I don't really remember. I wasn't. You know, I was actually. This is a great story because if you look at my birthday's coming up in a couple weeks, and if you go back 9 months from a couple weeks from now, you have May 25th. So there's a good chance I was conceived on May 25th, 1977. Because I was born then in February of '78. So the math works out perfectly. And I didn't ask I did tell my parents that, and my mom was like, oh, I don't know. And I'm thank God she doesn't remember, but that's it was more of a joke, but so yeah, I don't remember where I was going before I told that story, but so yeah, I mean, so it's been pretty much it's been tastefully done. There's not really anything in there. Princess Leia in a bikini, and yeah, so like in '77, I wasn't around, so I don't know if it was a big deal that Carrie Fisher wasn't wearing a brassiere for the filming of it. I don't even know if it was a story back then, or if it didn't come out till later on, or till she started doing talk shows or whatever. But I think for the most part, it was, and I think you have the worst hat on ever. I would just like to say,
Hey, diehard fan.
For those of you that are going to be listening and not watching, he is wearing a hat of the best cheating football team ever.
No proof.
Well, no, they do have proof a few times, just not for all of them. But
okay.
if you, all right. Anyways, we'll get into football talk later.
All right.
But yeah, so I mean, I just think that it's been done, for the most part, tastefully.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, once again, when Jedi came out, I was 5, so I don't remember the backlash of the bikini, and I don't even know if there was backlash until years later, or especially more recently when she went from Slave Leia to Hut Slayer, because that was the women's empowerment movement to make her from being a victim to, being, whatever she became when she, was the Hut Slayer. And, not that it's like when she was wearing the gold bikini and she was in the chain and his, whatever she was Slave Leia. At that time that she killed him, she switched from Slave Leia to Hut Slayer. And I don't think that's an empowerment thing or anything. I think it just happens to be in the movie that was her opportunity and she took it. I think I'm going off topic now, but
no, it's
you got to reel me in. You got to reel me in because once I start going, 10 minutes later, I come back. I'm like, wait, what was the question? And then, it has nothing to do with.
And because I was going to relate it to the same thing. I mean, I was 8 when Jedi came out, and when I saw that scene, and I remember it vividly, I was like, whoa, hey, and that set my little mind on fire. And yeah, it was now, I'm sure there are a lot of people around my age that are reaching a certain stage of life that absolutely lost their minds over that. But I mean, then it quickly gets reeled in when she's back on fully clothed, and it was just it was like, wow, did I really? Is that what I'm thinking? Or wow, it was a shock, but one that I don't think anyone really really opposed to. It wasn't like a Super Bowl halftime exposure type situation.
Yeah, there was no nip slip going on that causes the whole stir, but You know, on that note, this is completely off topic. But did you see in the All-Star game, Billy Joel Armstrong from Green Day? They were playing the halftime show, or well, it's not a halftime show because it's All-Star game, but and he just kept dropping F-bombs while he was singing
Oh
and
yeah,
screaming,
yeah.
and that's if I mean I have a potty mouth and I try and control it. But sometimes, especially once I get talking and going, especially when I'm on my show and I don't really care who, whatever. I sometimes teach myself swear words I didn't even know I knew. But it's like something like that. There's no reason. Yes, you should have known that he's going to do that. If you knew anything about him, you shouldn't invite him to go to a live kids show. The kid family friendly show. If you
Right.
know he's going to do that. And that's just it should have been edited or censored or he should have done it himself, or they shouldn't ask him to come. That was just my little quick. It just popped in my head while we were talking about that. So that has really nothing to do with anything. So that's just my little tangent or spin off that hit in. But I'm trying to find Return of the Jedi right now on Disney Plus, so I can watch the bikini scene while we talk about this. I turned on National Geographic. That could be some
Yeah. See, there you go.
sexuality scene, but that's something different. But
There's
yeah,
a
so
song.
I can. Oh, the Bloodhound Gang.
Yeah.
You remember the Bloodhound Gang? Yeah.
Oh,
See, that's what you can do now that you're using StreamYard. You can go to the screen share, have the Bloodhound Gang, if you're using Google Chrome, up in one of your windows while we're talking about it, and say, "Hey, remember this?" and then play that clip. That's what I figured out. I mean, I've been doing StreamYard now for StreamYard, the 2Med2 Star Wars Network, and Star Wars for the Ages. You should give us free StreamYard for life for being your commercials. There you
absolutely.
go. And we don't even need the big package. Just bump us up to the first pay tier. We don't need to go to 27. I mean, it would be nice if we went to 27 outlets at one time. I don't even know what there is for all of them. But yeah, so StreamYard, there you go. Give us, give it to me and we'll run it together. I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Give it to him. We'll run it together. So StreamYard, we are your biggest spokespersons. We are the biggest people. Yeah, I got a notification yesterday on StreamYard that I am, of the people that use it, I am the highest 5% of their users because I go through over 20 hours a week, which is what the free one cuts you off at. So like one of my stream yesterday, I had an hour of streaming to do. So I went 3.5 hours or 3 hours, whatever it was. They don't cut you off then. But I couldn't do anything else until whatever. But anyways, okay. Now that all right, let's get back to Star Wars before I just keep going.
All right.
Charlie, just tell me to shut up, dude. I have absolutely no problem with that because I don't even know what I'm talking about half the time. So
I'm enjoying it. It's it's a little mix of mine and your show. I normally have questions and things that I like to get to, which I saw or yesterday that you had some bullet points that you wanted to get through, and I think you successfully got through them.
Yeah, I started making on my phone. I made a list on my phone, but my lists aren't complete, or I'm in the middle of doing something, so it's quick one word, so I have to try and figure out what they mean. I'll go through my lists a lot of times, and I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, or what it'll be like 2 words, and they mean absolutely no sense because I made it 3 weeks ago or a month ago, and it's completely out of context. I have no idea what they are for just regular lists. But yeah, with the Star Wars ones, that's a little bit easier to figure out. But it was still, I had like 5 or 6 things on there I wanted to touch on, and I actually, for the first time ever, really had a list and kind of stuck to it. So, yeah, I don't know why I can't.
It was fun. I normally overlist things. I have my show notes, which are in in another room where I locked my kids away so they could watch TV and not interrupt. So I'm not about to go open that Pandora's box. But yeah, normally I have things all planned out, and I write everything down on pieces of paper. I have 6 or 7 pages of notes and things.
Oh no, I saw your list, but that's where we have you and I have 2 completely different formats or shows that we're going through. Yours is more of a informative kind of thing, I would think, which I love. It's great. Mine's just kind of like, let's get together at the bar and see what we're going to talk Star Wars about.
Oh yeah, I love
You
that
know,
part too.
and and it's just like, yeah, they're just completely different. So,
So,
um,
well, I think we've about run the course on the sexuality portion that I wanted to talk about. So the next topic that I have is one that we touched on yesterday: Return
yep,
of the Maker.
yes,
Now, as I said, I saw this yesterday morning, and I really didn't have time to go through and check the sources, see where it originally came from. When I saw it, two or three people had it posted, and then later in the afternoon, I think, in fact, I think after I had gotten off of yours because of technical difficulties, there were. I finally saw the source, and it was "We Got This Covered." So, knowing that, you could always take that with a grain of salt. They quoted their source saying that it was the same people that released the rumors about and all the spoilers for Rise of Skywalker,
hmm
which I guess I didn't get into the rumors, so I'm not sure exactly what was said, but uh,
I mean,
apparently they're fairly accurate.
now did they list their source or do they just say it's the same one?
They just
Because
they said it
because
was
most
the same the same group or people that had supplied them the Rise of Skywalker ones were the same one that said that this was uh, that this was true and this was going to happen if certain conditions were met.
yeah, I think it's just a bunch of horse poop. Um,
Oh, yeah.
because like you have people that, whether you like them or hate them, Jason Ward and Making Star Wars, Bespin Bulletin, those are the two big ones that come to my mind right away. They hear a source or they hear something and they check it before they run with the story.
Mhm.
um, and I just know from talking with a few of the people, um, there's a lot more rumors that I can tell you 100% for a fact, Jason Ward and Making Star Wars gets and doesn't put out. He may tell a few friends that won't say anything. I'm not privy to that information or find that out, but I'm friends with these people, and um, you know, if they want to know spoilers, they know more details before he comes out with them, before he feels confident enough to say, because it's his reputation on the line. Um, and like I said, no matter what you think about him as, because some people don't like him because he puts out spoilers, and why would you do that? So some people, don't like that, but it's like, I don't know what to equate it to, but you have good people out there that put out things, and then you have, like, I got in an argument. I talked about it last night with somebody, because Kessel Run Transmissions put out that we're going to be getting Rebels at the end of this year, or the winter of this year, meaning
Mhm.
after the fall, around Christmas time, somewhere around there. And I got in an argument with somebody because they're like, "Oh, you're a troll because you didn't cite your source," and it's like, you can't cite your sources or you lose your sources. And you know, I'm not going to bet my entire life fortune on it, but I'd put money on this guy being right versus him being wrong if he's going to come out and say something, because it might not be that extensive of a track record of a Bespin Bulletin or Making Star Wars, but he also hasn't been out around long enough, and his thing is the animated series and cartoons and things like that.
Right.
So they knew about Rebels. They talked about Rebels before anybody else, before it was officially announced. They talked about the Clone Wars, not it coming out, but the toy line that was being released, or that's going to be released before anyone else. I was doing my show a couple weeks ago or whatever it was, and I was looking through the text, because I was whatever, I was looking through my messages, and I saw a message, and it said that there was big news. He's going to be, coming out with it very shortly. And I talked about it on my show. We don't know what it is, blah, blah, blah. And it was the same thing. You have these, anyways, to go back to your question or what we were talking about, you have these respected people. And I say respected because their sources are good, or their sources are true, or they double check or triple check. They don't just say this guy said this, then they try and find out from their sources if it's true. And then you have these I'm starting to get worked up, so I'm starting to try not to use profanity. Once again,
and if it happens, it happens. Not that big of a deal. But
you got these jack off websites or whatever that just say, "Oh, here we go. Let's quote Mike Zero." Because let's see, now I'm going to really start swearing because I said his name. But that's now my I need to go take some blood pressure medicine on that one. But yeah, so it's like, I could get my website going and start doing some quotes and stuff like that, and maybe I'll start making some money off of clickbait. But you know what? That's not my thing. That's not what I'm into. That's not who I am as a person, and that's not who I am in a fandom, and that's not who I want to be in this community. I want, if I tell you something and it's my opinion, it's based on what I know of Star Wars and what I know of the books I've read. And I've been talking about, I'm pretty much done with the canon books, and I'm reading secondary books on the philosophy of Star Wars and the military might behind Star Wars, and how Star Wars changed civilization, and all things like that. I mean, I could go and I don't know, but yeah, it doesn't really matter. I'm getting to those, and some of them are a couple hours long, short books. Other ones are 20 for Audible, 24, 25 hours long. And it's just like, give me more Star Wars, give me more information. And one of the people that actually got me really into, when I came into this part of the fandom, was Prince from Urban Acolyte. And he deals more with the spirituality and everything. He's looking at it as a Star Wars. He's not looking at it as a Star Wars fan. He's looking at it as Star Wars as being like George Lucas created, and our new myths and legends. To go back with the Greek legends and Roman legends and stories that we had. And he, for like the Last Jedi, he was pretty much right on with everything on what he thought was going to happen. Because he's dealing with, he's I don't really know. He was a religious guy. He studied in monastery and all different forms of religion before he decided it wasn't really for him and left. But he's still interested in that. It's not what he wanted to do with his life, but he's still interested and still studies religions and how that all ties into Star Wars. And if you look at that and the psychology and the morality and everything, how it's so intertwined, and it's just really interesting that I can sit here and read a book about it, and you have instead of having clickbait things, you can go and listen to somebody like him. So yeah, I don't know. I don't even.
You ready for some breaking news?
Yeah, man. What? Where did that just come from?
Clayton Sandell.
I just went to Twitter.
I would say that is a very reliable source. The countdown is on.
I don't know what this is, but okay. No, I just got a Dark Ages on TBS premieres tonight. I have no idea what that is.
Me either.
But okay, so yeah, I don't have. Did you just get that off of Twitter, or what did that?
Yeah, okay. It just popped across. I'm trying to. I have a pretty large monitor, so I have several screens that are open,
Okay.
and one of them being Twitter, and then I think I have YouTube hidden back over on this side, and then I have StreamYard on my main view, and I saw it, and I was like, "Whoa, hey, this is that's pretty sweet."
Okay, well, what you need to do, I don't know if you did this yet. You need to take a second, and I'll keep talking. You need to go on your Twitter, and you need to repost that and leave a little message or whatever. Get your thing going on for Charlie Skywalker. Tell people you're talking about it now. Do your little plug. Do whatever you got to do because you got that breaking news. Somebody's going to see it. I mean, we're small potatoes compared to the Twitter world on what people see and who they follow.
Right.
And no offense, but we are even
No,
me with my I have my 700 followers who I think the majority of them have me muted half the time, or don't really care what I have to say. It's but that's fine, whatever. Yeah, so I don't know. All I'm getting is this Dark Ages crap. I don't. Oh, here we go. Project Luminous, 2020. So yeah. Tell everybody to come join.
Yeah. I'm not used to all this technology.
Yeah, hashtag Project Luminous, so it shows up. I don't know how I'm not the best at Twitter, but hashtag Project Luminous. That way, it shows up if people search for it. Put a link to the show right now. Maybe you get a couple people to come in and watch while you're on here. I mean, you never know. All it takes is that one person, and I'm pretty sure you're the same way as I am. You don't plan on making a living off of this or being able to retire.
Oh no, this is
but
just fun. I think I have it there.
Like I was saying yesterday, the little, I don't mean it as an insult, but the little bit of money I do make, not that the people are just giving me a little bit of money, but the few dollars I do get off my Patreon or someday that I will make off of YouTube or whatever. It helps so that I can, see, that's what I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just saying that, it costs if I want to upgrade. I talked about this yesterday. If I want to just, well, Mr. Rez doesn't count. I can say whatever I want. I can't
Mr.
insult
Rez
him
is
because,
Charles is too.
Oh no, I know.
Appreciate you guys joining in the live chat.
Yeah. It's just, I don't mean to, like, I am very thankful for that because these guys don't need to give me any money. Whether they give me $1 or $100, it's appreciated. It's whatever, they can give or they feel, justifiable for whatever reason. But, for me to do, it's for me to, like I said yesterday, for me to do StreamYard, if I want to bump it up where I can make it look fancy and a little bit nicer, so maybe I can get a few more people watching and we can get more people involved and I can stream on, to Facebook. I think I can, if you go up to the next level where you actually pay, you can stream to 2 things at a time. So you can do YouTube and Twitch or YouTube and Twitter, whatever it is. You got to pay for that to reach a few more people. I have a website. I've paid for the domain name. I have a website. It just I haven't done anything because I haven't spent the money on, keeping it up and running. So yeah, I mean that's what I mean by that. When I say small potatoes, I mean we're never going to be able to retire off of it. We're not.
I agree. Yeah, I do it for the fun. I started on Twitter. Oh, in June it will be a year. And I've done this. This is week number 4 for me. So I've been doing it for a month as far as podcasting. Now I'm trying to do live stream to see how that goes, and just get a finger on it, and just to have fun. I've never in a million years thought that I'd have followers on, like, say, Twitter. I think I'm almost to 300. I'm at like 280,
Mm-hmm.
I think. Never would. I mean, who would care enough to listen to what I have to say that they would actually follow me and support me the way that they have. You have the guys in the chat, everybody else, that is so encouraging to me on Twitter, and it's amazing, and I love it, and I do it for the love of Star Wars and to just put my thoughts out there, because if they stay in my head, my head's just gonna explode because I have too many thoughts. But
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm sure. I don't want to. So is this just your live stream, or is this going to be part of um your podcast?
I don't know exactly how it's going to go yet.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
definitely going to. I'll probably try to mix it in a little bit. If it takes off and I have a lot of people that say, "Hey, let's do a live chat," then awesome, we could do that. But we'll see how it goes.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm doing the boxing tank, because it's just like, if you and I want to talk about Star Wars, um, we know we can do it every Monday at 8:30. And Mr. Rez knows that, and Charles knows that, and a few other people know that, and we have some other regulars and that are there. We have some other people that are starting to become more regular, and other people that are just popping in and out. But we have this too, where, hey, let's talk, and if Charles and Mr. Rez don't want to come in, they can type. I wanted it to be where we can actually sit around and talk, because it's a lot easier to talk Star Wars than it is to type Star Wars. And when I say something stupid and it's taken, the context isn't there, I can explain myself. Where on Twitter, I've offended half the people that are in the thread. But I mean, that's what happened with me. You guys know my story. I decided I wanted Star Wars friends. It's actually coming up, I think, January. I think either today, or I don't know if Twitter will tell me. Um, in the next day or two is my 2-year anniversary of Twitter, and I had a Facebook page, and I decided I wanted Star Wars friends, and I was on disability but in school, and so I was bored because I was just taking basic classes, and you know, they it was anyways. I was like, okay, I want to make some friends, and I that night or the next day had a Twitter and another Facebook account and Instagram, and YouTube, and I just kind of put everything out there without knowing what I was doing. And then Johnny Grasso somehow found me on Twitter or one of my YouTube posts and said, "Hey, we're getting together. You want to come meet us?" I had no idea who he was. I thought, I was kind of scared and didn't know what to say or what to do, because some guy on Twitter just says, "Hey, we're a bunch of podcasters getting together. You want to come meet us?" And they were doing their East Coast meetup, and I said, okay. And I didn't know what to expect. I'm expecting, a bunch of old sweaties sitting in a corner arguing over who shot first. Like, that's my worst case scenario. And I walk in there, and I'm the biggest nerd out of everybody. It's Johnny Grasso and Raj, and the guys from yeah. Anyways, it's just all a bunch of podcasters and people, and it's like normal people, not what I was fearful that I'm going to walk into. And it's like, dude, I'm the loser out of the group here. So like, what am I worried about? And that brought me into, like, so then I became friends with the Raj, because
Mhm.
he was there, and now me and Michael Pappas are great friends, and I make my commute from Brooklyn to Queens to his house that takes me an hour and a half or 2 hours, whenever we can fit it in. Which I would never think that if someone was like, "Oh, you want to come 2 hours to go talk to Star about Star Wars?" No, dude. Um, just like that. And then I went to Celebration, and I was in a house with 20 people, and they're all podcasters, and the Sith list. I'm in a house with people from the Sith list and Bad Motivators, and Canto Bight Dispatch, and Scruffy Podcasters, and and all these people that I just, luck of the draw, the way that things happen. The way my whole Star Wars fandom has been. It's just kind of been luck of the draw. I keep doing well and doing well and doing well with making friends and everything. And so I took that break for a year,
Right.
because I burnt my, I don't know if you remember, I burnt myself out, because I was doing what Hawes and Steele are doing with their review, but I was doing it every day. So I'd go
Mhm.
through that. I'd go through that entire book. And so tomorrow's the 29th. Today I'd go through and find everything on the 29th that happened on the 29th. And then I'd go through and I'd read off what they were. And then I'd find the pictures of it. I burnt myself out doing that for 3 months. I couldn't do it. It was cost 5 or 6 hours a day. I just couldn't do it anymore. So I took a break for a year. And then I was sitting at a bar with my buddies, and I don't drink, but I was there hanging out with them. and talking about Star Wars, and all of a sudden they're like, "You like Star Wars?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I love Star Wars." Like, oh, you love, it's just like, wait, we all love Star Wars. We didn't know, and I was like, this is what my podcast is going to be. This is what my YouTube channel is going to be. It's just people sitting around talking about Star Wars, and that's what I've made it be. Where it's just like you get on and you come and you talk. You sit down at the table and you have your 2 sips of beer and you get up and you walk away. Or okay, anyways, yeah, Project Luminous. Let's talk about that now. Oh no, shit. Okay, no, see that you just like don't let me go off like that, man.
I was enjoying the story.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, it's like, that's what I just decided. I was like, that's what I want to do my podcast. I came back from, I think I was going to Celebration, and everybody's like, oh, you're going to Celebration? Oh, I love Star Wars. And that's how it all started. I came back from Celebration. I want to do something. And then I was trying to figure out how to do it, what to do. And then all of a sudden I learned about this thing called StreamYard, and I was like, dude, this is fucking oh, sorry. This is perfect. It's exactly what I'm looking for. This just made my life. This is, there couldn't be anything better. And boom, then that's how I got onto back into my thing. And yeah, so and that's where we are now. And I'm talking to you because I probably saw you 100 times on Twitter and on Facebook, and you follow Tatooine and Sons, and no idea who you were, and I'm not the kind of person that's just going to strike up a conversation on Twitter or anything. And then I saw you interacting in a chat, and like, oh, okay, okay, this guy's interacting in a chat. I like what he has to say. I like him. Okay, let's go check out his Twitter. Let's go check out his face. Let's go do a little Facebook stalking and see if I want to be friends with him. In real computer internet life or whatever, however you want to consider it. And and here we are now. I got my thing. I'm on your channel talking to you from the other side of the world, country, whatever. And now you've had a couple minutes to. I really wasn't just talking about nothing. I was just trying to give you time to look up Project Luminous.
I was trying to share the screen. I haven't quite got all the technology down yet.
Okay, go to at the bottom where it says share screen. Click on that. A box is going to come up, and it's going to give you 3 options. You want the option all the way to the right. And that's going to be to share your tab. And then it's going to give you the tabs that you have open to share. And you pick up that one, and that will give you your screen.
I don't have anything on the right. It just some screen sharing tips. Oh, there it goes. Chromium tab.
Mine's all the way on the right. It's going to tell you. Yeah, there you go. All right. See? All right. Working together.
Awesome. The Force is what gives.
Okay. Now get rid of your banner, your Project Luminous banner.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm not trying to be a dick and tell you how to do your thing.
No.
Listen, I've been I've been doing this for 3 months, and I just figured out the other day how to do a shared screen because of the Bombad cast. I asked them, I was like, how do you guys do that? Like, you don't pay for it either. I thought it was a paid thing. They're like, no, you got to do this. And I was like, dude, that is so simple. But okay, yeah. Anyways.
All right. So is it showing the screen now?
Yep, we got the screen.
All right. So yeah, a force is what gives a Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things until Project Luminous. I'm not sure what that until means, but it kind of sounds ominous.
Yeah, I mean, this we've had for a while. This isn't news or breaking news.
Right, but I just, my main thought was, so we have Claudia Gray, Justina Ireland,
yep,
Daniel Jose Older, Kevin Scott, and Charles Soule. That's a lineup.
It is, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday. It's hard for me to remember who was on and when and what we were talking about. But what do we think is going to be? What are they going to do? Is Charles Soule going to be doing a comic book for it? Somebody said he might be writing a book or a novel for it. Is Claudia Gray going to be writing the big heavy novel? and just Ireland, who has done more of the junior novels, or things along those lines. Are they gonna let her step up her game because how well she's been received, or are they gonna keep her down there in Kittyland? Are we gonna get one big book or two big books, and a bunch of smaller ones that I don't know page wise. I'm just going by the big novels are 12 hours on
Mhm.
Audible, and the smaller books are 6 hours or 8 hours. So half the size or a quarter of the size, page wise.
All right.
And
Do you guys remember Shadows of the Empire in 1980 or 1996?
I do not.
Okay.
Um,
So Shadows of the Empire was a Lucasfilm invention that they
mhm,
were going to do to because there's such a long time in between Return of the Jedi and the prequel trilogy. So in order to generate interest and to get that fervor going, then Lucasfilm developed a book called Shadows of the Empire. They created comic books of Shadows of the Empire. They created a video game of Shadows of the Empire, and it's all interconnected and all set around a certain amount of um, dates and events that happened in the Star Wars universe. That is what it seems like that they're doing on this. Everything I've heard is everyone is going to have their own section that they're going to do. They're going to tell their own tale. So we have the young readers will have their tale set in this particular time. Charles Soule will do his comic books around the same time. So it's all going to be interwoven together, and I believe it's also going to tie into the next round of movies that they're going to do as well.
See, I don't. It's all still up in the air on what we're getting. It's been reported that it's going to be comic books and movies and cartoons and anything and everything you can um, think of. But yeah, no, I don't remember that, but I know of it. I just never got into. I wasn't into the EU. I didn't want to read. So if there wasn't reading involved in the EU, I would have probably been into it. Um, but so that's what everything's still speculation. And then 224, is that when they tell us what it is, or is that when there's something in the works right now we don't know about and they're going to say, here it is, no marketing, no nothing, it's hitting the ground running. I think the 24th is probably going to be an announcement because it was supposed to be this month, but I guess we're going to have to see what they're going to do. And I'm trying to think of what it was. Somebody was talking about Project Luminous. Um, there was a thread on there, and I don't remember what author it was that's done or been doing Disney movies recently, or I'm sorry, books recently. And they said, and I'm almost positive it was a female, so I'm going to say she. She said, "Yeah, and I get to do Maul, or I get to do Darth Maul." That was her comment.
Mm-hmm.
And I shared it. I don't know if you remember seeing that or anything about that. It wasn't a news story. It wasn't anything. It was in a thread with just people talking. People that are more popular in the positive Star Wars Twitter. I don't even remember if it was someone asking Matt Martin a question or whatever it was. But it was, whoever the author was tagged in it, something like that, or something about Project Luminous, and they said, yeah, and I get to write about Maul. That's why I was wondering if Luminous has anything to do with the High Republic, which everyone is speculating that it is because that's the only two things we know about. We know
Right.
they're doing High Republic. We know they're doing Luminous. So they have to be the same thing. They have to be connected. No, dude, they're doing two completely different things, two completely different stories. They're throwing stuff out there, seeing what sticks, and that's going to be the Star Wars for the next 10 or 15 or 20 years. If hopefully both stories stick, we get all that Star Wars. They don't have to regroup and redo anything.
Right.
But I mean, it's just I think they're different. And if someone's writing Project Luminous and they're writing about Maul, how can Luminous have anything to do with um, the High Republic? And my thought was yesterday was, what if Project Luminous isn't a military product or project or a project from um, the Empire? What if that's what Disney's calling this part? They're calling it, like, we have the High Republic. That's the time frame they're doing it. So whatever materials come out, whether they be books, movies, comic books, it falls under the High Republic. Then we have this other part called Project Luminous, which you're never going to hear Project Luminous or anything in the stories because that's just what they're calling this section that they're doing. And
I mean, kind of like just like a code word for like the Death Star was Project Stardust, and so you really don't know what all it's going to entail. You just know what it is, and it's going to be just completely separate.
well, it's like, okay, all right, so you have if I say Star Wars Saga, um, Mr. Rez, somebody punch him sometimes. Mr. Rez, snap yourself for me.
Gold. It's gold.
I know it is. And like, so someone says a Star Wars Saga. We know what the Star Wars Saga is. We know the movies it includes, the books it includes, all the ancillary materials and everything like that. Cartoons, whatever it is. So we know what the Star Wars Saga is. We don't yet know what the High Republic is, but we know the time frame it happens in. So anything, the 10 movies they make for the High Republic and the 4 cartoons they make and the 20 novels that they write, that's the High Republic. We know that. Then now there's another part called Project Luminous, which that's just what they're calling it, and we'll know anything that happens falls underneath the umbrella. That's kind of like what the I don't know if I'm explaining myself the right way, but that's just kind of like, if you say, "Oh, Star Wars," what do you mean? Oh, Project Luminous. Oh, it means this type of thing or that thing. Maybe it's getting into that, or maybe I'm just completely wrong with my Snoke theory. I don't really know. Yeah. But
I think I'm along the same thought pattern that Miss Lauren has, that it's going to start the era that introduces new characters that will be in future movies. I think that's where it's going to head. And if my theory is correct, everything is going to be based on the Citadel in the High Republic era. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to my podcast I believe it was last week's podcast where I talked about the High Republic.
Right. Yeah, I did. I just finally got Anchor, so that's how I was able to find you. If you're watching this on YouTube, people, go find Star Wars Through the Ages on Anchor. It'll be a great listen for you.
So I really think that that's where they're going to go with it. They have to have, since it's a new era and people are already somewhat familiar with Star Wars, they're going to need something to kick off the characters so they kind of know what they are and who they are and set the stage for it, rather than just go into it blind like they did in the first one. But yeah, I think it's going to be centered around the Citadel. It fits the pattern or the time frame, the Star Wars timeline. You're going to have you'll have Yoda in there in some capacity, I believe. I think he's going to be a rogue Jedi hunter, and that's the whole series. Is they're going to, someone either escapes and starts causing havoc, and so they have to go catch them and bring them back to this prison or whatever you want to call it. I think that's what they're going to do with it, from what I could tell anyway. It's the only thing that fits in the timeline.
But I mean, it doesn't.
Well, you'll have
I don't
rule
know.
one where it
Yeah.
says, hey, there's more stories to tell, and we don't know what's going on yet. And I understand, but I don't know. I just try my feeble attempts to grasp and come up with oddball theories and see what sticks.
Oh, that's why it's great, and we can sit there and I don't agree with you at all, but I can be like, yeah, that might be right. I don't think you're right, but we'll see. But I think if they want to start pumping out, okay, so like I was saying, so now we have two separate things. We have the Star Wars saga, which isn't over. It's just on a little break for right now. But we know that part of Star Wars, the Star Wars saga, what it entails, what it includes. You have the High Republic, which is like another section of Star Wars, and then you have Project Luminous. So you don't have people walking into Rogue One saying, um, where's Ray, and you don't have people walking into Solo not understanding that it's a separate movie and doesn't really have anything to do with the other movies. I mean, it does, but for the most part, it's a standalone. Um, so they can, it can be, Star Wars: The High Republic, and that's the movie we're putting out, so people learn and start to know Star Wars: The High Republic is this line, and now we have Star Wars Project Luminous as this line, so they can start putting out a movie a year that's quality. And they're two different ones. One year you get High Republic, the next year you get Luminous, the next year you get High Republic. Something along the lines of that would work. I don't know. I mean, shit, they're Disney's trying to make their money. Why put all their eggs in one basket? Why not run two different things? Because it's going to be like everyone compares it to Marvel and how Marvel set theirs up. But that's the thing. You go into watch Ant-Man or whatever it is. You're not looking for the Hulk. You go to watch, whatever it is, you go to see Spider-Man, you're not wondering, where whatever character, why they're not there, why Thor isn't there. But people don't have that separation yet because it was Marvel, but you had all these different stories that, they kind of crossed over a little bit here and there, but they, one didn't matter with the other one. You have Star Wars, it's all interconnected. Everything's in there. So you can't have, you can't do Rogue One and people not want to know where Rey is because it's the next movie that comes out, or how does it work in the trilogy, and confusion like that. So I guess we're gonna see. We have less than a month away to find out who's right. And you know what? I'm gonna put money on neither one of us.
Yeah, and I was going to say that, I really don't care what it is. It's more Star Wars. That's what it is. And I'm excited whether it's something different, whether it's High Republic, whether, it's Luke Skywalker standing around picking his nose. I don't really care. It's more Star Wars, more for us to talk about, more for us to love. It's going to be amazing.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm completely stoked about it. I'm not saying I'm not going to like it because it's this or it's that, or I mean, give me Star Wars. If there's something I don't like about Star Wars, I'm probably going to tell you. I'm going to tell you I don't like it, but I'm not going to start a group and cry about it. And you know,
There will be those that will, though.
well, of course there are. I mean, there's two big ones right now, and it's like I was saying yesterday. One of the guys that came in my chat that's now following me that was in there. I met him from another chat, and he says that he's part of that one group, the bad one, the hate one. Well, the original hate one, I guess I should say. But it says make Solo 2 happen, and I'm like, I was like, dude, I don't understand what you're trying to say. Like, that was what the whole conversation was, why do people think that group's this way? And it's, because even though they don't have leaders, the people that are on YouTube and making money off of it and telling people what to like and what not to like or whatever, people, they're influencing people. They are leaders, whether or not they have an actual title or not, so when your leaders say something, when the leaders of a group say something, they speak for the entire group. So if you're part of that group, you pretty much agree with them. Without getting into all details of how groups break down in hierarchy and everything. And I asked him, I was like, so people think you're a piece of shit because, you have that in your title or hashtag that just for having that, because the leaders of your group say this and say that. So you obviously, if you're part of that group, must agree with them to a certain point that you associate with them. And he's like, well, no, I just don't like the movie. And I was like, well, then you need to stop associating with the group, because the group means something different than not liking a movie.
Right.
Whether or not that's how you feel or not, that's how the rest of the world perceives you. And if you want to, well, not the rest of the world, because half the people don't even know about that group, but and it's like, that's how him and I talked a little bit. And I was like, you know what? I was like, if you can have a regular conversation with me about this, come check it out. I'll have you on sometime and whatever. And he showed up in the chat. He followed me on Twitter. He followed me on YouTube. He didn't once bring up that movie because it wasn't part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about things and he didn't say, oh, well, I hate this and that, or this director or whatever, because it wasn't part of the conversation. So it's like, okay, we'll see where it goes. I'll have him on sometime. We'll talk about it. If he's nice and respectful, we might become friends. He might be a regular person on there to talk about for, a viewpoint. But it was just the fact that he's got that in his headline or whatever, and then, make Solo 2 happen. And they don't go together. So I don't know where that tangent came from again. But, all right.
All right. So I have one more topic that I saw earlier today that I'd like to get your opinion on.
Okay.
All right. So I guess the sound collector, the person that is, that touches up audio, I think what they call it, ADA or APA or ADR recording sessions. It's basically when they need to re-record lines of dialogue for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So either it didn't fit right or whatever, or they needed to change it for some reason. So it broke today that, I guess in an interview, that this guy said that they needed some more lines or different lines for Kylo for the last movie, and the ADR guy flew to New York, and because of scheduling, he met Adam Driver at his house and recorded some new lines for the movie in his closet. The question was, where's the craziest place you ever recorded sound? And the guy went and said, hey, the last one was probably the craziest. His Adam Driver studio didn't have the furniture in it yet. It was too echoey. So we moved some suits away. He went into a closet, recorded his dialogue, and we were on live with JJ via laptop. And so we recorded the lines. And there's a bunch of people now on Twitter that, I can't believe the travesty. How dare they re-record lines? No wonder the movie was trash, because they changed the dialogue and it just didn't fit. And and it's. In fact, I see one of them right now. It says, "You're telling me they changed some of his lines on November 21st. I'm going to screech." Why? It's a standard practice. They do it in nearly every movie. There's something that has to get redone or re-recorded to make it fit for whatever reason, and people are losing their minds.
Because it doesn't matter that it happens in all the movies, and that reshoots happen in every movie. When it happens in Star Wars, it's the end of the movie. It's because it sucks and it's horrible and they need to save it. Or if it's not the way they liked it, the reshoots ruined it. When they plan on the reshoots and the movie ends, the production aspect, the production part ends and they're done filming. Or I should say the filming ends. And they usually don't do reshoots the next day. They're months later after they've had time to put the movie together and see what they need to do and what they need to fix. And it could be a reshoot from, the beginning of the movie. It could be a reshoot from the middle of the movie or the end of the movie, or they don't like the way the one scene, even though they got it 50 different ways, they don't have the right camera angle or the right sound that they wanted. So it has to be reshot. And if that fits your narrative for not liking the movie, then that's what ruined the movie is they had to do. So the other 50 reasons that I told you before why the movie was horrible, this is either number 51 or this is the real reason.
Right.
And the other one, so it's like it's just all a bunch of BS. And I mean, I don't know. I don't want to take away from anyone's fandom, and I'm not trying to imply that at all. But the fact that going back to it ruined my childhood or it's not what the character deserved, dude, it's a fictional character told by someone else. If it was your character, not that you associate with or that you like or that you have the best connection with, one that you're writing for, then you have an opinion on what the character deserved.
Right.
Other than that, you might not like what happened to it, but deserving has nothing to do with it. Lines being re-said, re-spoken, rewritten, or whatever, it's not your call. You might not like it. You don't even know what the other ones were. I think someone said the other day, what if, and to the Raylos. So all the Raylos are saying it was and once again, when I say all, I don't mean all Raylos. I mean the crazy ones out there that are this is ruining their life and shit like that. That it was changed at the last minute for whatever reason, and there's a different ending. And someone said to him, I mean, it could have been you, it could have been Pete. I don't even know who it was, or somebody I don't even know. Said to him, so what if the ending, the original ending, wasn't them going off and being married and happily ever after? What if their ending was him staying Kylo Ren and spending, the rest of his life in prison or whatever the story was, or whatever, however they put it, I don't even know. So what if so let's say there is another ending for it. Let's say there is a JJ cut. Well, you want the JJ cut? The JJ cut has Kylo being put into a holocron for the rest of his life, and he's there now to suffer for eternity. And Ben Solo never comes out. So maybe that's the alternative ending that you have. You don't know. Be careful what you wish for. And I mean, so
that's similar to the Trevorrow script leak that, or supposed, it's still not even confirmed that that was an actual script. The ending there was, I thought, was so much more intense and ended even worse for Ben Solo. He wasn't redeemed. He died the villain, and there was no, at least in JJ's version, he had some sort of redemptive quality, and it came to the light at the end. But I mean, if they would have gotten that ending, I mean, who knows what? I mean, cars would have been caught on fire, riots in the streets, and
yeah,
I mean, you have to be careful of what what you're asking for. Like you said, who knows what the ending could have been. We got what we got. Let's be happy with it. It was Star Wars. Love it.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I don't even know what to say because there's people out there that I've become friends with, and the fact that when your fandom is expressed into a hashtag, so people know what you are, it's just kind of weird. I mean, like so now you use a hashtag and you say, but I'm not like the rest of them. Or, oh no, I don't think like that, or I don't go to the extreme. Well, the leaders of your group and the ones, and when I say leaders, I mean the people that are influencing and, whether or not they're on the deep fringe of craziness or they're still putting it out there so they have a mass following. Um, you know, they're influencers or whatever, so they might not have an actual title of leader, but you know, like they're the ones that are out there spreading the word. So what they say is going to influence people and how they feel. And if they say, well, you know what, maybe we got it a little bit different, or, you know, maybe we should calm down a little bit, maybe people would, and a lot more people would. And you could actually have dialogue and talk with people over, you know, you questioning something that they write or something that they said, and now you're a misogynistic piece of shit because you don't agree with what Raylo stands for. Well, you know what? Raylo stands differently for everybody else. Or, you know, not everybody that identifies as a Raylo, it means something different to them. Whether it just means they think they should have been together, whether or not they're in love with Adam Driver and sending, you know, death threats to his wife because they want her to die so him and Daisy Ridley can be together. You know, whether or not, you know, it ruins their fan fiction they've been writing for 3 years. You know, or they just think it would have made a better story. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, all those, if you took 4 different Raylos, all 4 of those are completely rational thoughts. Not that their thoughts are rational; those are completely rational things that you would expect from them. You know, all 4 being completely different ends of the spectrum, but they all identify as the same thing. So you're all clumped into one, and you're going to be clumped into the biggest, craziest way that it is. And I don't know why I'm sitting here talking about Raylos.
It's all right. It's all right. Well, that's all I really had for this week. I really appreciate you hopping on. It's almost time to get the kids ready for bed and feed them some dinner. So tell everybody where they can find you.
I am on. Well, my name is Michael, and I have the 2med2 Star Wars Network on YouTube. If you type in 2med2 TOOMEDTOO on pretty much anything, you'll find me. YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I think that's pretty much it. I do a kind of like this. Darth Vader's coming to kill me. I'm not sure what's happening right now.
I had to stand up. Sorry. I keep forgetting that I'm on the camera.
I thought you were showing me your T-shirt, and I was like, that's a pretty cool T-shirt, but it's kind of scary. You know, I do. It's called 2med2's Bacta Tank. It's kind of like this. Everybody's invited. People come on. People are on there for a couple hours. People are come on, ask one question. It's every Monday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. On the 2med2 channel. Yeah. I'm not on yet. I still need to put it on there. I am going to be on Anchor, and it's going to be 2med2's Bacta Tank. So it's going to be my Monday night YouTube recording put on to tape and put on Anchor, and that's something that's going to be going on there. My other live streams that I do, or anything else, other special ones that I do, those are just going to be on YouTube. So
awesome. Well, I do appreciate it. Thank you to those that were in the live chat today. Again, I apologize if there are any technical glitches, snafus, or anything that made the experience a little clunky. But I'll get better, and we will improve, and we'll continue this again.
I think you mean McClunky.
McClunky. Absolutely.
Yeah, guys, thanks for joining us. Charlie Skywalker, thank you very much for inviting me on here.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, dude. It was a good time.
Yeah, and we'll and I'll see you again probably on Twitter, and if not before, then next Monday.
Yeah, I'm off for the next I'm not off. I'm working mornings for the next month or so. So I have nighttime free. So instead of, it's going to cut into my podcast listening quite a bit. My podcast lists are going to drop down to just a couple a day now, instead of, being able to, I can't rebel during the morning. I can rebel at night. So those are going to drop way down, but that's going to give me a lot more time for live chatting and streaming and playing some video games and whatnot.
Yeah, video game Fallen Order coming up here in just a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'm going to get that going on in a little while.
All right, awesome. So if you guys are in the live chat, stop by 2med2's channel, watch him play some Jedi Fallen Order, and we can continue to discuss over there.
I don't know how well I play. I just kind of turn it on, trying to figure stuff out. The amount of time I put on the game, I should probably be close, at least halfway done with it. I probably don't even have a tenth of it done. So yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you over there again. This is Star Wars Through the Ages. Thank you for joining me for my first ever live stream. You guys have a great day.
Thank you. May the Force be with you.